With just 2 laps remaining at Texas Motor Speedway, the number 8 Chevrolet of Kyle Busch slammed into John Hunter Nemechek's Toyota, sending both cars careening into the outside wall in a collision that turned what should have been a promising afternoon into yet another controversy for the struggling veteran. Metal crumpled, tires smoked, and frustration that had been building for months finally boiled over in Turn 3. The immediate aftermath was equally explosive. Nemechek took to social media calling Busch an AA, while Busch responded by posting telemetry data to defend his actions, insisting, "I did not start this." Fans found themselves divided down the middle. NASCAR officials were photographed examining Busch's right front fender after the race, and the incident became the flashpoint of a chaotic May 3, 2026 afternoon. This wasn't just another racing incident. This was a breaking point for a 2-time champion with 63 career wins who now sits 27th in points, enduring over 100 races without victory, and being asked to serve as a mentor instead of a contender. Everything Kyle Busch has been holding inside came crashing down at Texas Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch had been running inside the top 10 all day at Texas, posting his best performance of the 2026 season to that point. He had qualified 6th, earned stage points, and was in position to finally deliver a much-needed top 10 finish as the laps wound down. Busch restarted 11th with 2 fresh right-side tires with just laps remaining in the Worth 400 presented by Leaky Moly. As the field crossed the line with 3 laps to go, John Hunter Nemechek passed Busch, moving ahead in the frantic final run to the checkered flag. 1 lap later, Busch dove underneath Nemechek through turns 1 and 2, nearly clearing the No. 42 Legacy Motor Club Toyota off turn 2. The 2 cars made contact as they exited the corner onto the backstretch. Busch's number 8 Chevrolet hit the outside wall hard, suffering right-side damage. Nemechek managed to get back around Busch entering turn 3, but what happened next became the defining moment of both drivers' afternoons. Busch appeared to swerve right, knocking Nemechek hard into the outside barrier. Nemechek's car sustained terminal damage, the right side completely destroyed against the safer barrier. Busch faded to finish 20th, while Nemechek limped across the line in 21st place, 1 lap down, with a wrecked race car and a ruined result. The 2 drivers offered completely conflicting narratives of what transpired in those final moments. Nemechek did not hold back his frustration, posting on social media, "Not freaking clear. Great day going in, just got wrecked. What an ass." His perspective was simple: Busch hadn't fully cleared him, made contact, and then intentionally wrecked him in retaliation. Kyle Busch, however, saw the incident entirely differently. He posted SMT data on his social media accounts showing that Nemechek may have turned down slightly on the track, arguing that the number 42 car came down into his racing line. Busch stated, "I did not start this. The 42 apparently doesn't know where the right side of his car is and where he is in relation to the outside wall. There was 2 foot outside him and I was judging my left side tires to the hash marks. Always know who you're racing beside." The telemetry and in-car footage became the center of intense debate among fans and analysts, with some seeing Nemechek turning slightly down the track and others viewing Busch's second contact as obvious retaliation. One critical detail emerged that added further context to the incident. Just 1 lap before the clash with Nemechek, Kyle Busch had a similar run-in with Brad Keselowski but managed to save the car and avoid a wreck. This time, whether by choice or circumstance, he did not. The question became whether Busch's second contact with Nemechek in turn 3 was intentional retaliation for being raced hard, or whether damage from the initial wall contact caused him to lose control of the number 8 Chevrolet. Either way, the result was the same: a ruined finish for both drivers and another flashpoint in Kyle Busch's increasingly unraveling 2026 season. Adding to the controversy, a NASCAR official was photographed taking pictures of Busch's right front fender in the garage area post-race, suggesting possible scrutiny over the incident. Despite this, no penalty was issued to Busch, a decision that would become increasingly controversial as the week progressed and comparisons were made to other incidents at the same race. This incident at Texas was not isolated. It was the culmination of mounting pressure and frustration that has been building across the entire 2026 season for Kyle Busch. He came into Texas Motor Speedway having qualified 6th, his best starting spot in weeks, and he ran inside the top 5 for much of the afternoon, earning valuable stage points. On paper, this looked like the breakthrough performance Busch and Richard Childress Racing desperately needed. Then it all fell apart in the final 2 laps. The frustration, however, did not start at Texas. Earlier in the same race, Busch had gotten into it with Carson Hocevar simply for racing him hard, showing visible irritation over aggressive racing around him. The radio chatter throughout the day revealed a driver on edge, with audible destructive strategy calls being made around him and a tone in his voice that indicated someone nearing a breaking point. This has been building for months, not just one bad afternoon. The numbers paint a stark picture of just how difficult 2026 has been for Kyle Busch. He has now gone over 100 Cup Series starts without a win, a streak that represents the worst drought of his entire career. He sits 27th in the standings, remarkably behind his own teammate Austin Dillon at 25th. Through the first several races of 2026, Busch has recorded 0 top 5 finishes and 0 top 10 finishes, with his best result of the season being 12th place. These are statistics that would be concerning for any driver, but for Kyle Busch, a 2-time champion with 63 career victories and a reputation as a generational talent, they represent an almost unthinkable fall from grace. Right now, Kyle Busch is in the worst slump of his entire career, and there is no clear path forward to turn it around at Richard Childress Racing. What makes the situation even more emotionally complex is the reason Busch stayed at RCR for 2026 in the first place. According to insiders within the NASCAR garage, Richard Childress asked Busch to return for another season not primarily to win races, but to mentor younger drivers like Jesse Love and Austin Hill, who represent the team's future. Busch agreed to stay. He committed to the role. He is genuinely trying to fulfill that responsibility. But when you are a 2-time champion being asked to be a mentor instead of a front runner, that creates an impossible emotional position. The competitive fire that made Kyle Busch one of the greatest drivers of his generation does not simply turn off because the role has changed. That fire still burns, and when the results do not come, the frustration has nowhere to go except onto the racetrack. Adding another layer to the emotional weight Busch is carrying is the presence of his 10-year-old son, Brexton, who is already winning races himself in junior competition and watches his father compete every weekend. Busch himself said just weeks before Texas, "I'm raising a little racer myself. Brexton sees me go home and sees me watching SMT film, looking at data, being in team meetings. It's for me to show him that there's a lot of work that goes into this." Those words reveal a father trying to model perseverance, work ethic, and professionalism for his son. But what Brexton watched his father do at Texas Motor Speedway was wreck another competitor out of frustration on the final lap, destroying both cars and ending a promising day in disappointment and controversy. The gap between who Kyle Busch wants to be and who the circumstances are forcing him to become has never been wider, and that internal conflict is now playing out publicly on the racetrack every single weekend. The belief across the NASCAR garage is nearly universal at this point: Kyle Busch and Richard Childress Racing will part ways after the 2026 season. The partnership, which produced 3 wins in 2023, has yielded no victories in 2024 or 2025, and 2026 has been the most difficult year yet. The question on everyone's mind is not whether Busch will leave RCR, but where he will land next. The most logical landing spot is Spire Motorsports. Jeff Dickerson, co-owner of Spire, is Busch's former business manager and longtime spotter, meaning the personal and professional relationship is already firmly established. Busch has also quietly won 4 Truck Series races with Spire over the last 3 seasons, proving that chemistry and capability exist between driver and organization. Whether Spire would add a 4th Cup car or transition one of their current seats to accommodate Busch remains to be seen, but the foundation for a partnership is clearly there. The second option is 23XI Racing, and this possibility carries significant weight. Kurt Busch, Kyle's older brother and a NASCAR Hall of Famer, currently works as a consultant and coach at 23XI Racing. Denny Hamlin, who co-owns the team alongside Michael Jordan, was Kyle's teammate at Joe Gibbs Racing for years, and the relationship and chemistry between the two are well established. If 23XI Racing decides to expand to a 4th Cup car, or if one of their current drivers underperforms and a seat opens up, this could be the perfect landing spot for Kyle Busch to rejoin a championship-caliber organization with people who know him well and understand how to get the best out of him. The third and most speculative option is a Busch Brothers ownership venture. Kurt has openly discussed the possibility of co-owning a Cup team with Kyle after both are fully done driving. The financial challenge of launching and sustaining a competitive Cup Series team is enormous, but names like Michael Andretti, who previously expressed serious interest in NASCAR before stepping back from Formula One, have been floated as potential financial backers. It is a long shot, but it is not impossible. There is also the Brexton factor to consider. Kyle's son turns 11 on May 18, meaning he is still 5 years away from being eligible for the Truck Series at the earliest. Some observers believe Kyle would stay in the Cup garage in a reduced or placeholder role just to keep his son connected to NASCAR's highest level and maintain relationships within the sport as Brexton's career develops. But after watching what happened at Texas Motor Speedway, it is increasingly clear that Kyle Busch is not wired to be a placeholder for anything. The competitive intensity, the desire to win, the refusal to accept anything less than excellence, those traits define who he is, and they are not going away simply because the circumstances have changed. While Kyle Busch and John Hunter Nemechek provided the most dramatic and controversial moment of the afternoon, they were far from the only story at Texas. Chase Elliott did what the best drivers do in chaotic races. He stayed clean, stayed fast, and stayed patient while everything around him descended into chaos. Elliott did not lead until lap 152 of 267, when Corey Heim brought his Toyota to pit road for fuel on an off-cycle strategy. From that point forward, the No. 9 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet controlled the race with precision and dominance. His pit crew delivered their 3 fastest pit stops of the season on the same afternoon, and when the final caution set up a 4-lap shootout to the finish, Elliott got a perfect push from teammate Alex Bowman, cleared Denny Hamlin off turn 2, and pulled away to win by 0.407 seconds. This was Elliott's second win of 2026, his second career victory at Texas, and the 23rd win of his Cup career. He joins Tyler Reddick as a multiple winner this season and became the first repeat winner in the last 10 races at Texas Motor Speedway. The broader trend is what makes Chase Elliott's performance genuinely significant. Over his last 30 races dating back to Atlanta last June, Elliott has won 4 times. In his previous 87 starts, he had just 1 win. His average laps led per race has jumped from 9.3 in that earlier stretch to 18.5 over the last 30 races. He has been Hendrick Motorsports' winningest driver since the start of the 2025 season, accounting for 67% of the team's last 6 victories. Tyler Reddick still leads the championship by 109 points over Hamlin and 117 points over Elliott, but that gap is shrinking with every strong performance. If this version of Chase Elliott is sustainable, the 2026 championship conversation just became significantly more complicated for everyone currently sitting ahead of him in the standings. The inconsistency in NASCAR's penalty decisions at Texas became another major talking point. Ryan Preece was docked 25 points and fined $50,000 for intentionally wrecking Ty Gibbs at Texas. Kyle Busch received no penalty for wrecking John Hunter Nemechek on the final lap. Preece and Gibbs had been feuding throughout the race. Gibbs made an aggressive move on Preece in turn 1 earlier in the event, and later, on a stage 2 restart, Preece sent Gibbs hard into the turn 3 wall. Gibbs' car was destroyed, and he retired in 35th place. Preece's radio rant went viral. "What an expletive idiot that kid is. He's so lucky his car is so expletive fast. When I get to that 54, I'm done with him." After the race, Preece did not apologize, stating, "Decisions you make on a racetrack, there are repercussions. I try to race everybody with respect. When you don't do that, I'm not going to cut you a break." Ty Gibbs responded on social media with an eye-roll emoji and cheers, 3 words and 2 emojis that communicated exactly what he thought without giving Preece the satisfaction of a genuine reaction. NASCAR penalized Preece but did not penalize Busch, and whether that represents consistent officiating is a question fans and drivers will be debating for weeks to come. Meanwhile, Christopher Bell, who had been leading the race before being wiped out by Todd Gilliland on lap 68, delivered one of the sharpest critiques of the season when he called NASCAR's superspeedway package a complete joke. He was not simply venting frustration. He was making a coherent, structured case for why something needs to change before Daytona and Talladega come back around on the schedule. Joey Logano's day ended on pit road when Cole Custer stopped suddenly to avoid missing his pit box and Logano slammed into him, peeling back the left front fender of his Ford like a can opener. Kyle Larson spun and destroyed his car in turn 2 on lap 160, ending his day early. Multiple championship contenders were eliminated in a single chaotic afternoon, and the ripple effects will be felt for weeks. Texas Motor Speedway on May 3, 2026 was a snapshot of a sport under immense pressure. Kyle Busch cracking under the weight of a winless streak and an impossible role. Ryan Preece retaliating against a young driver he felt disrespected him. Christopher Bell demanding accountability from NASCAR's rulebook. Chase Elliott rising through all the chaos to build a legitimate championship case. Every storyline connects to the others. Busch's frustration at RCR bleeds into how he races. How he races affects other drivers. How other drivers respond creates incidents. And while all that chaos unfolds, Elliott is quietly building a championship case nobody was discussing at the start of this season. Watkins Glen is next on the schedule. Road course racing brings its own unique challenges. Tempers do not cool in 7 days, and in a season that is starting to feel genuinely unpredictable, the most dangerous thing anyone can say right now is that they know exactly what happens next. Kyle Busch's future remains uncertain. His present is unraveling week by week. Whether he finds redemption or continues this downward spiral will define not just his 2026 season, but possibly the final chapter of his Hall of Fame career. If you made it this far, you are a real NASCAR fan, and this is exactly the kind of deep dive breakdown you will not get anywhere else. Texas gave us everything: chaos, controversy, championship implications, and one of the sport's greatest drivers at a true crossroads. So here is what we need you to do. Hit that like button if you think Kyle Busch deserves better than this RCR situation, or if you think he brought it on himself. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss our Watkins Glen breakdown, because this story is far from over. Drop a comment and tell us where you think Kyle Busch ends up in 2027. Spire? 2311? Retirement? Let's talk about it. Thanks for watching.